Let's begin by looking straight at something most of us never question. The quiet conviction that the way we see ourselves and the world is basically accurate. It isn't. Not because we're stupid or careless, but because the mind is built to create workable fictions, and those fictions become so familiar that we stop noticing they're fictions at all. Awakening, then, isn't about collecting new beliefs or having mystical experiences. It's about seeing through the ordinary illusions that run the show. And the first thing to notice is that these illusions feel safe. They give us a job, a story, a plan. They hurt to question, because questioning them feels like questioning sanity itself. Yet the discomfort is the doorway. Start with the illusion of a separate self. You feel like a little commander sitting behind your eyes, making choices, owning memories, planning a future. That feels obvious. But watch what happens when you try to locate this commander. Thoughts appear where from? Feelings surge, whose decision? The body moves your order? Or just the next thing that happens? The sense of I is a bundle of sensations, memories, and intentions that the brain stitches together into a single character. It's useful, like a user interface. But it's not the operator, it's the avatar. People cling to this avatar because without it, who gets the credit, who takes the blame, who signs the mortgage? The comfort is in the continuity. Same me yesterday, today, tomorrow. Letting the avatar dissolve even a little feels like free falling. Yet the fall is into what was always here, a field of experience with no fixed center. No owner, just owning. Next, the illusion of control. You believe that with enough effort, foresight, and discipline, outcomes can be secured. Career, health, relationships, manage the variables, and the future bends. This belief is reinforced every time a plan works, which is often enough to keep the faith alive. But zoom out. A single diagnosis, a market crash, a text message at 2 a.m., and the whole scaffold collapses. The mind hates that exposure, so it doubles down. More insurance, more routines, more positive thinking. The pain of breaking this illusion is the pain of admitting that the steering wheel is mostly decorative. What replaces it isn't helplessness, but accuracy. Influence without authorship. You still act, still choose, still care, but without the background hum of I must make this happen or I'm nothing. The relief is subtle at first, like setting down a backpack you forgot you were carrying. Then there's the illusion of time. We treat the present as a moving line between a real past and a real future. Memories feel solid, plans feel urgent. But memory is reconstruction, not replay. Every recall rewrites the file. The future is pure projection, a mental movie we mistake for destiny. The now is the only scene actually playing, yet we spend it rehearsing or regretting. The comfort here is narrative. A life needs a plot arc, a before and after. Break the illusion and the plot dissolves into moment after moment, each complete. The disorientation is acute goals lose their grip, regrets lose their sting. What remains is availability. Nothing to defend, nothing to chase, just this. Closely tied is the illusion that happiness waits at the end of a condition. Get the degree, the partner, the income, the enlightenment, and then you'll rest. This keeps the treadmill spinning. The mind is brilliant at moving goalposts. Every summit reveals a higher peak. The comfort is purpose. Without a target, what's the point? Seeing through it reveals that the point was never the target. Well-being isn't a reward for arrival. It's the default when chasing stops. The pain of this realization is the mourning of all the deferred life. But the mourning passes, and what's left is unearned okayness here, now, independent of the story. Finally, the illusion of identity. You are your roles, your history, your preferences, your politics. These labels feel like essence. Change them and you change the person, or so it seems. The comfort is belonging. Tribes, resumes, personality tests all confirm this is who I am. Question the labels and social anxiety flares. Will they still recognize me? The deeper fear is existential. Without the mask collection, who's looking out? Yet every role is a costume rented for a scene. Strip them, and the stage is still lit. The self that remains isn't blank, it's unbounded. It can wear any costume without being confined to it. Notice the pattern. Each illusion promises safety and delivers captivity. The separate self guards a fortress that isn't there. Control builds a dam against a river that was never yours to stop. Time and future promise meaning at the cost of the only moment that exists. Identity supplies a name tag for a mystery that needs no introduction. Breaking them hurts because the ego treats every crack in the fiction as a threat to survival. But the threat is imaginary. What collapses is the funhouse mirror, not the face. So the shattering isn't destruction, it's demolition of the unnecessary. The house was never the scaffolding. When the scaffolding falls, the space feels enormous, almost frightening. You stand in the open with no script, no guarantee, no fixed name, and yet breathing happens, seeing happens, caring happens. The same life, minus the claustrophobia. We'll stop here, at the edge of the clearing. The illusions are down, but the dust hasn't settled. What does it feel like to walk without the old coordinates? That's where we pick up next. Which illusion do you find hardest to let go of? You've just watched the scaffolding collapse. The separate self, the grip of control, the arrow of time, the promise of future happiness, the wardrobe of identities gone. Not erased, but seen for what they were. Useful maps mistaken for the territory. The mind, trained to trust those maps, now stares at blank space and does what any good survival system does. It panics. This panic is the subject of part 2. Awakening is sold as bliss, but the first honest taste is usually discomfort, sometimes sharp enough to send people running back to the old stories. Let's look at why the pain arrives, what it's made of, and why it's not a sign you took a wrong turn. The first ache is disorientation. Imagine waking up in a house you've lived in for decades, only to realize the walls were cardboard flats on a movie set. The furniture is still there, the coffee still brews, but the sense of my secure home evaporates. That evaporation leaves vertigo. Without the illusion of a fixed self, decisions feel oddly weightless. Who is choosing? Without control, every plan carries a footnote, subject to reality. Without a solid past or future, the day loses its dramatic tension. The mind hates a vacuum, so it scrambles to rebuild. Old habits surge. Scroll the phone, rehearse the resume, worry about tomorrow. These are not moral failures. They are the nervous system trying to restore coordinates. Next comes grief. Yes, grief. You mourn the version of you that was going to nail the presentation, win the argument, finally arrive at enough. That version was a character in a play you secretly believed was documentary. When the curtain drops mid-scene, the audience, your own awareness, sits in stunned silence. The grief is not theatrical, it's cellular. Neurochemically, the brain was dosing itself with intermittent hits of dopamine tied to anticipated rewards. Cut the anticipation and you get withdrawal. People misread this as depression and meditate it away, or distract it with new spiritual goals. The cleaner move is to let the withdrawal burn. It's the residue of a habit, not a verdict on your worth. Then there's the social friction. Illusions are group projects. Your colleagues need you to stay the ambitious professional. Your family needs you to stay the reliable child. Your friends need you to stay predictable. When you stop performing the old lines, they feel the ground shift too. Conversations that once flowed on autopilot now require presence. Someone asks, "How's the job?" And the honest answer, "I no longer measure my life by that metric," lands like a non sequitur. The discomfort is mutual. You're not trying to be difficult, you're just no longer willing to trade clarity for belonging. Some relationships tighten, others loosen. The pain here is the pain of authentic contact. No script, no armor. A subtler ache is the loss of meaning. The old illusions supplied ready-made purpose. Climb, protect, achieve, arrive. Strip them and the question, why bother, floats up. This is not teenage nihilism, it's structural. Purpose was outsourced to the future, and the future just dissolved. The void that opens is terrifying until you notice it's not empty. Actions still happen, dishes get washed, emails get sent, a stranger gets helped across the street. The difference is that the action no longer needs a cosmic justification. It's enough that it's happening. But getting to enough requires crossing the desert of nothing matters. Most people sprint back to a new mission, start a podcast, save the planet, master breathwork, anything to refill the meaning tank. The braver path is to walk the desert and discover that thirst itself is survivable. There's also the pain of inconsistent seeing. One moment, the separate self is obviously a story. The next moment, you're furious at the barista for getting your order wrong. The flip-flop is maddening. Spiritual traditions call this falling back into delusion, which sounds like failure. It isn't. It's the mind doing interval training. Each return to the old pattern is followed by a quicker recognition. There's the avatar again, demanding its coffee scripture. The intervals shorten. The pain is the stretch between insight and habit. Finally, there's the pain of responsibility. Illusions let you blame the world. Traffic, bosses, genes, karma. Seeing through them removes the scapegoats. If control is largely fictional, then the quality of attention you bring to this moment is the only variable fully in play. That's exhilarating in theory, crushing in practice. The bar for mindfulness skyrockets. Every word, every click, every resentment is now 100% yours to notice or ignore. The ego squeals, "This is too much." It's right. It is too much for the ego. Which is why the ego keeps dissolving a little more each time the pain is met with curiosity instead of sedation. So the pain is multi-layered. Vertigo, withdrawal, social friction, meaning collapse, inconsistency, and the weight of radical responsibility. It peaks and waves not as a single crisis. And here's the pivot. The pain is not the enemy of awakening, it's the texture of it. Numbness would mean the illusions were still intact. Soreness means the joints are moving for the first time. Think of physical therapy after a cast comes off. The limb is technically healed, but the first steps are shaky. The muscles protest. No one concludes the leg is broken again. They conclude it's relearning load bearing. Same here. The pain is the psyche relearning how to carry reality without the crutches. The temptation is to fix the pain with a new illusion, call it non-duality, label it enlightenment, post a serene selfie. That's just swapping cardboard walls for marble ones. The instruction is simpler. Feel the ache without editing it. Name it accurately, grief, fear, boredom, whatever it is, and let it speak its piece. It always has less to say than you think. As the waves subside, something steadier emerges. Not a new belief, but a kind of negative capability, the ability to act without needing the old guarantees. You still set the alarm, still apologize when you snap, still plan dinner, but the background narration has quieted. The pain has done its job. It burned off the insulation that kept you from direct contact with what's here. We'll stop at this hinge point. The discomfort has carved out space. What grows in that space is not more pain, but something the mind has no ready word for. Call it light, call it presence, call it the obvious. The pain has done its work. The scaffolding is rubble. The withdrawal has passed. The social masks lie cracked on the floor. What's left is not darkness, but a kind of luminous obviousness, the same room you've always been in, now without the funhouse mirrors. This is part 3, the direct encounter with what the illusions were obscuring. No trumpets, no special effects. Just the ordinary made transparent. First, notice the silence where the inner narrator used to be. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer audition for the role of CEO. A worry about money floats up, gets looked at, and drifts off without colonizing the afternoon. The absence of commentary feels almost suspicious at first, like walking into a party and realizing the host isn't checking your invitation. That's the light, unfiltered perception with no mandatory interpretation. Next, the body registers as weather rather than property. Tension in the shoulders is simply tension, not a referendum on your competence. Breathing happens without a manager. This isn't detachment, it's intimacy. The old self tried to own the body the way a child grips a toy. Mine, fix it, improve it. Now the toy is seen as borrowed animation. The relief is physical. Muscles unclench when there's no one to impress. Relationships shift too. Without the need to defend an identity, listening becomes possible. You hear the subtext in a friend's joke, the fear behind a partner's silence, not as data to file under how this affects me, but as weather in the shared field. Empathy is no longer a moral achievement. It's the default when the firewall of self-interest drops. Some people feel exposed by this naked contact and retreat, others lean in. Either way, the interaction is cleaner, action simplifies. The question is no longer, what should the story character do to advance the plot, but what's called for here? The answer is usually small and obvious. Answer the email, walk the dog, say sorry. Grand purpose is replaced by micro-accuracy. Paradoxically, this feels more meaningful than any 5-year plan, because nothing is being postponed. The biggest surprise is that nothing was added. Awakening is marketed as a power-up cities, bliss states, cosmic downloads. The actual delivery is subtraction. The light was always on, the masks were dimmers. When a mask falls, brightness increases proportionally. A single unadorned sensation, coffee, steam, traffic noise, the pulse in your wrist carries more voltage than any peak experience you chased. Yet the light is not uniform. Shadows remain. Old reflexes, sudden anger, the urge to perform. These are not failures, they're contrast. The same way a white wall shows every scuff, clarity reveals every residual habit. The practice is not to banish the scuff, but to see it plainly. Plain seeing is self-correcting. The anger burns for 10 seconds instead of 10 hours because there's no identity fuel to feed it. People ask, how do I stay in this? You don't. Staying implies a location to defend. The light is the field itself, you're already soaked. The question flips, how did I ever believe I was separate from it? The answer is neurological habit, cultural storytelling, survival heuristics, none of which invalidate the light, any more than a dream invalidates waking. So the mask is off, but the face was never hidden. It was the looking that was veiled. Now looking looks, hearing hears, living lives without a middleman. The simplicity is almost embarrassing. All the seminars, retreats, and slogans were pointing at the corner of the room you're standing in. We'll close here, at the threshold of action. The light is stable, but the world still turns. How do you walk, speak, love, work, when there's no one to become and nothing to achieve? The light is on, the masks are off. The pain has burned clean. Now the final illusion dissolves. The belief that freedom is a state to reach. It isn't. Freedom is the recognition that the game was never compulsory. You can still play work, love, vote, laugh, but the rulebook is optional. This is part 4, living the obvious. Action arises without authorship. You answer the phone, cook dinner, apologize, vote, yet no inner manager claims copyright. The doer is the doing. Efficiency increases, drama decreases. Mistakes still happen, but they correct in real time, like a tightrope walker adjusting mid-step. No post-mortem identity crisis required. Love operates on direct current. No ledger of what I give versus what I get. Presence replaces performance. The same mouth that once negotiated affection now says, I'm here, and means it. Some relationships end not from coldness, but from honesty. Others deepen into wordless recognition. Work becomes play when outcome is demoted from God to data point. Deadlines arrive, creativity flows, money circulates, none of it defining. The spreadsheet and the sunset share equal reality. Temporary patterns in the field, the body ages, traffic jams, elections swing, none of it lands as personal tragedy or triumph. Events are weather, awareness is sky. Suffering still visits pain, loss, fear, but it passes through an open window instead of moving in. Freedom's signature is availability. Nothing to defend, nothing to prove, everything to meet. The dream continues, but you're awake inside it. So the series ends where it began. In this moment, already complete, keep walking. The path makes itself under your feet. What will you do with your one wild, unscripted day?